Idaho. Key facts. Abbreviation ID. Nickname the germ state, the spot state. Capital Boise. Flower syringa. Tree western white pine. Bird mountain bluebird. Slogan Great potatoes, tasty destinations. Motto Esto perpetua, let it be forever. Oh dear, I feel immeasurably guilty about my time in Idaho. It was one of those things, one of those unfortunate logistical necessities. A glance at map will show you how our journey down the Great Plains, from Montana to Texas, including Wyoming, the Dakotas, Nebraska, Kansas, Colorado, and Oklahoma, is higgledy-piggledy enough without including Idaho on the itinerary. But included it I had to, for it would not fit into the next journey up from New Mexico to Washington State either. En route from Montana to Wyoming, therefore, I stop off at the state line that Montana shares with Idaho. I choose that particular section of the state line that is also the continental divide, for I have a piece of to camera to do explaining this geographical phenomenon. No matter how hard I try and grasp the nature of landscape and terrain, it still astonishes me how much it is all a question of gravity. That there are floodplains, valleys, estuaries, and deltas, and all down to one ineluctable fact. Water will flow downwards. And yet if there is no downwards, i.e., if it is in a piece of flat land, it will not flow at all. The entire continental United States is divided into two for fluvial or riverish purposes. Water will either flow into the Atlantic or into the Pacific. If it flows south into the Gulf of Mexico, that counts as the Atlantic, of course. Right, I get that. I may have given up geography at school very early and still be unsure what a rift valley or terminal marine is. But I can get the fact that any water that falls from the sky or tumbles from the melting snow of the mountains must end up somewhere. Given that America is not, despite appearances, a flat bowl in the middle, the water flow follows gravity and makes it into the sea. The sea is at a lower level than the land, and therefore all water must inevitably end up there. The Great Divide, the name given to the continental divide in the United States, is surprisingly far west. Part of it runs down between Idaho and Montana before it makes its way a little further eastwards and down through Wyoming, Colorado, and New Mexico. I stand on the divide itself and demonstrate to camera, with the aid of a bottle of mineral water, the significance of this line. I pour water on Idaho's side, and it will make its way to the Pacific. I pour it a tad to the east of the Montana side, and it will flow to the Mississippi and out into the Gulf. Do I find time to tell the BBC audience that Idaho is best known for being the potato capital of America, hence its secondary nickname, the Spot State? 1 in every 3 potatoes bought in America is grown here. Do I explain that it was to this state that Ernest Hemingway came to live for a few years before ending his life with a shotgun blast to the head in 1961? Do I mention that the very name of the state, Idaho, was apparently made up by an eccentric called Willings in the 1860s, claiming without foundation that it was based on a Shoshone Indian phrase meaning gem of the mountains, the so-called Idahoks? I'm ashamed to say I do none of these things. Of all the states I have visited, Idaho gets the shortest shrift. A glass of water and no more. I feel terrible about this, and I promise that I will make up for it with a private visit just as soon as I am able. Hey ho, farewell, Idaho.